Jazzy, we all miss. Do I make myself clear, G? Do I make myself clear? Need to cut the record. Ready Topstory, ready Topstory, Mr. Rap, coming back again. Here we go again. We about to do this live. Keep your eyes on the road. Do you know who is in effect? Topstory. Do you know who is in effect? Topstory. Yeah, this is that out there. We're gonna do this live. Africa represent. Africa coming strong. Big continent in effect. You know what I'm saying? Who is Topstory? Who is Topstory? The song is MC in effect. Right about now. We're gonna do this live. Keep it on. Put it on, y'all. Check it out, y'all. You don't stop. We keep it on.
Tonight, Ghana Medical Association issues a strong weather statement warning the Electoral Commission and its chairperson that the country will hold them responsible for any adherence to protocols of COVID-19. Well, we also do know that there were considerable promises from the Electoral Commission and the President, and logically, expectations were high, not to mention the divergent mixed feelings among the two topmost political parties towards a highly anticipated registration exercise.
The election on 7th December must be a Ghanaian election, not a West African election, conducted with a register of Ghanaian voters.
Over the years, a number of mechanisms have been built into our processes to tighten the loose screws and to ensure transparency and accountability from the registration of voters to the declaration of results.
And while the event started in most of the registration centers, they were not without the usual hitches. We'll bring you all the related conversations right here. Topstory.
But as it stands right now, the registration has not started. What happened to you?
I had an accident.
You came here to register.
Because I'm a Ghanaian, so I have to register.
So you've been waiting here for how many hours?
Around 7 hours now.
This morning when they came with the laptop is not fully charged. The power on the laptop is 0%.
Topstory is brought to you by Bond Savings and Loans. Your success are passion. GASM, the nation builder. Vodafone, the future is exciting. Ready? Tonight, we look at how the first day of the Electoral Commission's new voters registration exercise went, and from account of our reporters deployed across the 16 regions and from ordinary Ghanaians, some of whom had trooped to the registration centers to get their names on the electoral roll, we asked the big question: was it a good start for the Electoral Commission?
I think so far we are on track. There are some few challenges. And these are, I would call them teaching challenges. They come with address, and some are boundary issues, some are difficulty in getting the system working there, but once they can, we solve them. Because they are new systems, they are no competent. So you get to a program to tell us, then we address them.
And that has not hampered the process in any way, you would say?
We are expecting as usual that any mass registration and anything like that, the first 2 days you have some few challenges and you go through. The first day, if you have gone into any mass activity like that, you realize that the first day you have some few challenges.
We speak to Dr. Sribo Kwaku. He is Director of Electoral Services of Ghana's Electoral Commission. Also tonight, some leading figures in political parties across the country, especially the NPP and NDC. And we start with the NDC. And Sami Jemfi is Communications Officer of the Opposition National Democratic Congress. He will be right here on Topstory. Alongside him, we're going to have Samia Uku, National Organizer of the governing New Patriotic Party. Meanwhile, for those observers, we need to speak to them. And so we have the Coalition of Domestic Election Observers, CODEO. First, let's recall the President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, giving Ghanaians all assurances, and also the chairperson of the Electoral Commission.
So I urge all eligible Ghanaians, I repeat, all eligible citizens, that is Ghanaians of 18 years of age or above, and of sound mind, no matter what party they belong to, if any, to go out and register so that they can exercise their civic responsibilities on 7th December to elect a government of their choice in a free, fair, peaceful, and transparent election. Using your God-given and constitutional rights costs nothing, but staying home can come at a very steep price. The pandemic notwithstanding, we have to strengthen Ghanaian democracy. It must be our collective duty to ensure that we have a register that is fit for purpose in December, and we must all make sure that persons who do not meet the requirements as set out clearly in the Constitution do not find their names into the register. If you aid the registration of an ineligible person and you are caught, you will face the full rigors of the law. The election on 7th December must be a Ghanaian election, not a West African election, conducted with a register of Ghanaian voters. That is the only way the true will of the Ghanaian people can manifest. It is crucial that both the registration exercise and the electoral process itself be conducted in an atmosphere of peace and security, devoid of intimidation and violence.
And according to the Electoral Commission, the exercise will be held at about 6,788 clusters made up of 5 registration centers each. This means a total of some 33,367 registration centers will be situated within the country. Well, the exercise is expected to be conducted in phases, as we all know, spanning some 6 days.
Over the years, a number of mechanisms have been built into our processes to tighten the loose screws and to ensure transparency and accountability from the registration of voters to the declaration of results. For the purposes of this exercise, I'll focus on the transparency embedded into our registration process. Indeed, before the Electoral Commission commences any registration process, it has to provide all registered political parties with a 21 days notice of its intention to compile or update the register. This is to afford political parties the opportunity to train and assign agents to the various registration centers. The agents of the political parties remain at the registration centers from the start of the process to the end. At the beginning of each day, the Electoral Commission officer starts the machine or kits in the presence of political party agents. The kits show the date, time, and a record of the number of persons who have registered. In all cases, at the start of the day, that number is 0.
Well, we do know the EC boss, Mrs. Jim Mensah, promised that some 7,000 health assistants would be released by the Ghana Health Service to ensure necessary COVID-19 safety protocols are adhered to at various clusters. Well, so we have to ask the question, why again is the Ghana Medical Association looking at concerns that had been raised by their own monitoring team about the non-adherence to COVID-19 preventive measures? And in a statement strongly worded and signed by the president of the association, Dr. Frank Ankobia, and additionally signed by the General Secretary, Dr. Justice Yankson, they indicated the Electoral Commission must also ensure that all the needed PPEs are available for use at all times at the voter registration centers. And again, on point 7, the EC chairperson and other members of the commission should be ultimately held responsible and accountable by the state for any wanton disregard for or non-enforcement of COVID-19 preventive measures at any voter registration center that has the potential to spread the disease. And indeed, well, we were on the ground. Maxwell Gbagba monitored events in various parts of the capital, Accra. He concentrated his observations in one of Accra's most hotspots. We're talking about the Ododo constituency.
Disagreement and confusion. Woman who was hurling invectives at registration officials for the delay in the registration was nearly attacked by one of the residents. A resident of Jamestown, Mavis, recently survived an accident. She now walks with the help of a crutch, but she's here determined to register.
I had an accident. Once I'm a Ghanaian, so I have to register. Yeah, I'm very, very confused because yesterday they said the boys was making routes here. That's why they haven't started the thing. So we have to wait. They have to arrange everything nicely so that they will start the thing.
75-year-old Isaac Mensah has also been standing here for the past 5 hours.
The start is very poor because they're supposed to start at 7 a.m. and it's getting to 9. We are still here. No seat for us to sit on it, and you haven't tell us anything. It's better you come out to tell us what to do. Either we go and come in the afternoon, or they are wasting our time. I'm a Gold Coast man. I was born in 1945, and we know a birth certificate because we use birth certificate to acquire the Ghana card you're talking about. And now we are not using birth certificate. Most of the people here have got birth certificates.
Nyakaka chala ninyenkwa wabatola meko mana meko man bejiwo wabatola ke jalebi manke 5 o'clock ni watala mi ni wompi nyekwa bo nyekwa chaka na ka jenye wo helalo awo helaka donu afio
like in the coronavirus cases, and that's the concern she's raising, that the registration has not started and they've been seated here for so long and they've been compelled to sit together here.
According to some representatives of the political parties, a decision by the EC registration officials to exclude some widely publicized registration centers caused the disagreement.
The registration materials are ready to be deployed. I've been speaking to the commander of the ministry's police station, Chief Superintendent Asebunzu. He was in that meeting trying to resolve the disagreement between the political parties. He says they are ready and alert to call any violence that may erupt here.
Also in the Ashanti region, Ohiminteria visited some centers where there were challenges with registration devices. He joins us on the line. Well, Ohimin, what really did you find out in some of those centers? Where also did you visit in the first place?
Thank you, Roland. I was in the Ejeso constituency where 14 registration centers from 4 communities were set up today to kickstart the voter registration exercise. And I must say, throughout my monitoring in the constituency till now, waiting, we have few minutes to close registration exercise. The exercise has been incident-free. A majority of the residents have come out in their numbers. Some have come to wait at the registration centers as early as 4 a.m. In the morning, waiting anxiously to take turns to register for the registration exercise. So the EC officials are happy at the turnout, especially where residents have to queue and wait for the arrival of the registration officials. And they say that if the exercise continues this way, then it means the exercise will register one of the highest registration turnout.
How adherence to COVID-19 restrictions were?
I must say, in the entire registration centers in constituency that I visited, almost everywhere I go, the seating arrangements conform to the social distancing protocol measures. For instance, each registrant has to ensure that the both left and right arm, when you stretch it, will not touch anybody. So that is where the next person has to stand. And in areas where they were seated, that was also adhered to. Everybody that visited the registration center came in their face mask. And the first thing you have to do is to wash your hands with the running water with soap provided by the Electoral Commission and tissue papers where you have to clean your hands. After that, the health officials will take your temperature with the help of thermometer guns available at the registration center, and then you walk in to form the queue. In areas where they wanted to, in order to ensure sanity, the people who went into the queue were given registration numbers, so they were going according to numbers. So if you don't have a number supplied by the Electoral Commission, it means that you want to jump the queue and you'll be fished out in that process. So I must say, in the Ajusto constituency, it's been a peaceful exercise. Everything has been in order without any incident being recorded today.
Well, thank you very much. Ohemi Interior, a reporter from the Ashanti region, who was monitoring the registration in key constituencies, including Ajusto and other adjoining areas. Now, we have to go on the line now and speak to the General Secretary of the Ghana Medical Association. They issued that strong worded statement, and Dr. Jancis Yankson is on the line. Now, in the first place, I see a 7-point worded statement. You may have been having some anxiety as you monitored the situation around the country today.
Well, Roland, let me actually say that, as was said by your colleague MFA earlier, this is something you guys came up on. But in truth, we actually submitted this to the EC last Friday. Based on what has happened throughout the period, culminating in the NPP primaries, we realized that some promises were made, but ultimately there was a breakdown in the strict enforcement of all the preventive etiquette. And we knew that for such an exercise, this was likely to happen, for which reason we warned them ahead of time. And it looks like our fears have actually come home to roost, because as of today, the checks we have also done actually confirms the situation that there is a lot of disregard for the preventive or safety protocols.
I see point 7. The Electoral Commission Chair and other members of that commission should be ultimately held responsible and accountable by the state for any wanton disregard for any enforcement of these preventive measures. What really did you mean by that?
Well, it's a very simple thing, and it's very straightforward. We live in a society governed by rules and laws. There's an EI that helps us to understand what should befall people who disregard such preventive etiquette in this era of this pandemic. Now, the Electoral Commissioner has a constitutional duty to do the job the Commission is doing. And we don't have any qualms at all with that, in the sense that the Supreme Court has actually given them the go-ahead. If the Supreme Court has spoken, for us as an organization, we cannot go and prevent them from doing it. But because of the nature of our job and what we stand for, we owe it as a duty to ourselves and the people of Ghana to ensure that activities sanctioned by the state or permitted by law do not end up creating more problems for us by way of spread of the disease. And by the disease, I mean COVID-19. We have significant community spread, for which reason we are all doing our best to curtail that particular activity. At this moment, the medical doctors, other health professionals are stretched, trying to deal with moderate to severe and critical cases. And we think that the Electoral Commissioner or the Electoral Commission headed by Madame Jean Mensah, having been given the opportunity and the resources to do this particular exercise, they owe it as a responsibility to the people of Ghana to ensure that their activities do not end up escalating COVID-19 in this country. And that is why we are saying that since they know the potential implications, they've had the opportunity to prepare. If they are not able to execute all that they have told us as a people, then if there is any disregard, as we are saying, for the safety protocols, and we also end up with an upscale of the infections as we kindly are trying to battle at this moment, then as responsible people and as a responsible commission, the state should hold them accountable for that mess that would have emanated out of their lawfully sanctioned activity for which they have been given resources to execute.
But when it comes critically to adhering to the protocols, the Electoral Commission, we all know, would have to do that complemented by you health authority. Have you been monitoring the situation yourself? Do you intend to monitor the situation in the coming days?
Well, that's what I'm saying, that we have monitored today's activity, and in a large section of the places we have visited, even just about 15 minutes back, or less about 30 minutes back, some of the places we were still jammed with people who were not respecting any of the safety protocols. Of course, you may find a few people in mask, but the large majority had thrown that mask bit into the gutters. They were not respecting any of the social distancing activities or as required by all of us to do. And we did not see the EC actually in charge, trying to ensure that the right safety activities are practiced. We think that it is their responsibility because they are the ones actually undertaking this particular exercise. They, like we said in our statement, they should be able to collaborate with the law enforcement agencies, especially the Ghana Police Service, to ensure that the enforcement actually takes place at the various voter registration centers. Once that hasn't happened or is not happening, then they should be held responsible by the state. And whatever the laws of Ghana permit that it should be done, we need to trigger those laws to compel them to ensure that the right things are done. And if they fail to do it, the necessary punishment, we believe, ought to come their way.
What you're saying is that you as medical people, the heads of the Ghana Medical Association have gone around and you are worried about the state of adherence. Is that the case?
All we are saying in this particular letter that we issued we sent to the Electoral Commission, for which you have had a copy, it was done on Friday last week, at which point this voter registration had not started. But we anticipated that some of these things were going to happen, for which reason we warned them ahead of time. And we believe that from that point till now, they should have taken a cue from what we were saying and probably what others have said to ensure that as of today and the days to come, the right things were being done at the various voter registration centers. And unfortunately, the little test we've done today actually has confirmed our fears.
Well, thank you very much. Dr. Justice Jansen is General Secretary of the Ghana Medical Association, and we again have to apprise you of their latest statement, a 7-point statement signed by the President of the Association, Dr. Frank Ankobia, and himself, Dr. Justice Jansen, indicating that the chairperson and other members of the Commission will be ultimately held responsible and should be by the state for any wanton disregard for non-adherence enforcement of COVID-19 preventive measures. And it's where we have to get to. Those who monitor the elections in our country have great experience, and we have the CODEO and their coordinator, also a former director of elections for Ghana's Electoral Commission, great experience in election management and monitoring. Albert Ahin is on the line. Now, from what the Ghana Medical Association is saying, we should be worried for the coming days, shouldn't we?
Yes, I think it's a source that should worry everybody. From our reporters, there's every indication that in almost all the regions, the protocol thing has just gone to the wind. People are not obeying the protocols. In some cases, they are not even washing hands. They are not washing hands. In all the reports that we have received from the 40 of our people, the main problem is the COVID not being observed. It's all. Hello?
And critically, it also means that these observations, ideally, based on the promises of the Electoral Commission, should have been observed at these centers. Now, that also means that there's considerable failure even on the first day.
Well, yes, I would say that on the part of the COVID, the other issues are fine. Like the exercise took off smoothly. All other things were fine, except that the COVID thing is the issue. I had a problem when I went to one of the centers, and I was talking to the policemen and was, trying to find out why people were just not, obeying the rules. And the policeman told me, my brother, we have tried several times to put them to order, and they just wouldn't obey. The registration officer, I spoke to him also. He also said the same thing, and that they had all, given up. They had all given up, and everybody was just doing their own thing. People were just, piled up when they were not bothered.
Yeah.
I spoke to a couple of people in the queue, and it's like they didn't seem to worry about what they were even doing.
Well, thank you very much. Coordinator for CODEO, the Coalition of Domestic Election Observers, Albert Ahin, also a former director of elections for Ghana's Electoral Commission. But that's why we have to go onto the lines and again speak to Sami Jemfi, communications officer for the opposition NDC. And if we take a look at all the observations made, the GMA, CODEO, and some of our reporters, what have been your own observations today?
Thank you very much, Roland. Generally, the registration process has been very slow as the various registration centers that I personally toured today in the Volta region. The pace of the process is extremely slow, and that is a major concern for us as a political party. I have checked with other colleagues of mine who monitor the process in other regions, and the indication is that process was also slow in those areas. In some areas, the process doesn't start early due to the malfunction of the DVR equipment the Electoral Commission is using. In other areas, the batteries of the equipment run out very fast, because the batteries are weak. But generally, my observation of the registration process today is that it is very slow, and if this snail pace process continues, then I am not too sure whether the timelines the Electoral Commission has announced can be workable, because it is taking a registrant averagely 15 to 20 minutes to register for his or her card. That is relative to the registration centers that I have personally toured as a party agent today, and I'm having similar reports from other parts of the country which corroborate the same concern. And so the Electoral Commission will have to address this issue. It is still early days yet. Today is just the first day. We are hoping that the pace of the process will be improved so that we can have registrants spending less than 10 minutes, as we were told, at registration centers, to allow more people to register.
Well, thank you very much. Sami Jemfi is Communications Officer of the Opposition NDC. We now have the National Organizer of the ruling MPP, Sami Uku. And it looks like you, the parties, are in for some great work to collaborate with the Electoral Commission to make sure all these promises of adherence to the protocols are met. Sami. Well, so we're trying to, again, work the lines. We seem to have lost him. But ultimately, this is where we, again, have to remind you of the Ghana Medical Association statement that is giving great indication of their concerns they are raising after monitoring today's exercise, the new voter registration exercise taking place across many of these thousands of centers as indicated by the Electoral Commission. Again, you have to know that Vodafone, too much, because there's no way you will run out of things to do during this lockdown, because Vodafone has got you sorted with too much data. Now they double the data at the same price. So whether you are taking an exciting masterclass or binge watching Netflix series, which I also love so much, or bringing the party to Zoom, you now get too much data for the day and too much bonus from midnight to 4 a.m. Now, that's even more fun and a way for you to pay for better services. Now, dial *700# to get 3 gigabyte data for just 10 Ghana cedis, or 8 gigabyte data for 20 Ghana cedis, and 20 gigabyte data for just 50 Ghana cedis bundles. Stay home and stay connected with Vodafone, because with too much data, there's nothing that you can't do. Ready. Well, we do have Samia Uku, national organizer of the ruling MPP, on the line. Now, Sami, it looks like we're in for some great difficulties. The collaboration, especially that you need with the Electoral Commission, needs to come in handy. They're having difficulties in maintaining the protocols.
Well, good evening. Good evening to your cherished listeners. Well, this is a shared responsibility. I don't think anybody should be under a false impression or illusion that this is going to be a flawless exercise. You're going to definitely have situations where we as political parties and as major stakeholders in this process will have to support the Electoral Commission to help, one, observe these protocols, because many of these people who are also registering are also sympathizers and supporters of the major political parties. And the education is not the sole responsibility of the Electoral Commission. We have our role to play as political parties. And for us to be MPP, when we get to the various registration centers, as today we've also farmed out our executives, officers from both national down to constituency to monitor these processes from the various registration centers. When we get to places where we need to also offer a hand of help, we do that. Because these people in the queue are Ghanaians as well. And in as much as possible, if an NDC person contracts COVID or fails to observe the protocol, that person becomes endangered, and a danger to all of us. Likewise, an NPP sympathizer. So I don't think that we should instead adopt a position of a pessimistic position, but instead a position where we are there to support the issue. Look, the registration has started, and we can't do anything about it. What we can do is to improve upon day one and ensure that the Electoral Commission, they are doing their best. I visited no less than 8 centers today, from Majo in the Denton area down to Ayawaso, West Wogon, then to Mamobi in the Ayawaso North, and down to the Alajo areas, the Ayawaso Central Mosque areas, and throughout some of the major registration centers. The numbers are overwhelmed. So it's clear that the Ghanaian people are eager to register for a new voters ID. What we can do to support them as political parties is also to assist them constant education that you also need to keep alive. And I'm worried that if we focus too much on the negativity, what we are going to do then is to, one, scare people from these centers, or not do much to help with the education. The AC is doing its best. I don't speak for the Electoral Commission. I have grave reservations about some of the things that I also saw. And likewise, when I got to some of the centers, we also told them, space out. And let me also commend the agents of these political parties. They also kept an eagle eye on the process. Let me also commend the mobilizers and the equipment of the various political parties as they move from house to house to also get supporters and get sympathizers and Ghanaians who haven't heard of this whole exercise to also on the plate.
Well, thank you very much. Samia Uku is national organizer of the ruling MPP. Remember, Topstory is brought to you by Bond Savings and Loans. Your success and passion. Gasem, the nation builder. Vodafone, the future is exciting. Ready.
Hello.
Why you bed?
It's 5 a.m. Of course I bed. Lockdown.
Guy, some series that they watch for Netflix. Too much.
You woke up to comment.
Which can wake up? I've been watching.